Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the July 29th, 2025 special call meeting of the Board of Education to order. It is 5:01 p.m. The members have an agenda before them. Is there a motion to adopt?
I make a motion to adopt.
Excellent.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Hoyes, a second by Mr. Grimes. All in favor? Unanimous. Welcome, everyone. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. All right. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to hear the 2026 proposed millage rate. First up is our illustrious CFO, Mr. Larry Hamill.
Good evening.
Restful midday tonight.
Restful, yes. Good evening, board members and superintendent. Tonight, we're going to have the last public meeting for the 26 millage presentation. So for 2026, the millage rate from 2025 was 15.28 for the current year that we just closed, and we're proposing a 15.28 as well for the current year coming up for 26. The rollback provision for that would be 14.626. I will go more in depth on that with the next slide. Debt service, currently for 25, we're at 1.418. We're proposing the same debt millage rate for the current year as well, and the rollback provision on that is 1.365. And again, I'll explain that in the next couple of slides. We had our first meeting on July 22nd at 6 p.m. We had a meeting this morning at 9 a.m. And today at 5 p.m. we're having the last of 3 public meetings before you vote on the millage rate tonight. So what we have in front of us is the 25 tax digest and 5-year history report that's published every year in the public paper. Going from left to right, you can see the 2020 tax digest year, which is different than the fiscal year, to the 2025 digest year. So if you look at the net digest amount for 2020, you can see back then it was about $13.1 billion. And today it's about 23.87. And going from the bottom across the last row, you'll see the difference between the fiscal years percentage-wise for the last several years. Just as a note, 2025 was the first year that we had the new cap for reassessment amounts, which is 4%. We'll talk how that plays into the 7.2 in the next couple of slides. This document here is called a PT 32-1. This is a required document that has to be completed by us as well as the the tax commissioner's office. This document is used to calculate the rollback percentage as well as the rollback amount for us to go to the public about. And what you see going across from the left to right, you'll see the 24 tax digest year amounts. You'll see the amount of reassessment it increased from 24 to 25. And then you'll see the other changes to taxable digest amounts from 24 to 25. As you can see, the 24 digest had a net digest of about $22.3 billion, and it increased to about $23.9 billion. That increase is composed of reassessment of about $913 million versus other changes less exemptions of about $675 billion. The reassessments, the reason there's no exemptions in there is because we're just reassessing existing homes. They already have exemptions against them. As you can see on the other changes, the $1.4 billion for real property, the $800 million exemptions goes towards that amount. Now, when you look at those two differences, you can see that we had a millage rate of 15.28 in 24. We're proposing a millage rate of 15.28 for 25. When you do the calculations, in order for you to get the same amount of money you had before minus any growth based on the $913 million increase in reassessment, we would have to roll back a provision of our millage rate from 15.208 to 14.626. If you take that 14.2626 and compare it to the 15.28 we're projecting, we're calling for, that would be a percentage increase of about 3.98%. And again, back to the 4% cap that was in effect this year, because that was below 3.98, there was no changes made to the tax digest information as presented because they didn't have to go over the 4%. Now, individually, there could be property out there that did go over 4% that was affected overall, and there might be property that was less than 4%. but the cumulative, it was 3.98. Yes, sir.
So just for clarity purposes on this, for anybody that's watching or is with us today, the reason that tax increase goes up is because the value of the homes has gone up. This is just reassessed values, correct?
Correct.
We don't raise the values on those homes. Our millage rate is set, and so we're just proposing not to lower it back to the previous amount that would be collected.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, if we look at the debt service, it's the same kind of form. The amounts are similar, a little bit different. The exemptions are different as well. And we're proposing the 1.418. If you did the calculation there, you'd have to roll it back to 1.365. And as well with this one, the increase is about 3.88% overall. Are there any questions?
It works better when you turn it on. Questions? Dr. Young? Comments?
I also make a comment that I don't know why this keeps coming up, and I don't know if any of the other board members have gotten questions recently about the 65 plus exemption. And that, you know, I don't only speak for me, but I think I know what the will of the board is, that we have no desire to get rid of that. And so I just always would like to put that out there, just that, you know, that is a definite benefit for our community, and I have no desire to ever get rid of that.
Yeah, the way that would actually work, this board doesn't have the authority to remove the senior exemption, so this board would have to issue a unanimous resolution calling for its removal, and then the delegation would have to elect to take that up, which they're not going to either. So there's no shot or no chance or no interest to remove the senior exemption.
Then it's gotta go to ballot.
Then it's got to go to ballot, correct? Yeah, to
But
referendum.
it seems to be an annual issue raised around this time of year by some forces out there that are either confused or trying to muddy the waters. But the reality is it's fake news.
Fake news.
Confused.
I like it. All right, thank you, Mr. Hamill.
Any questions, ladies and gentlemen? All right.
No customers today, Jerry, sorry.
I'm that exciting.
All right, with that, we'll move into the public hearing portion of the evening. I'll seek a motion to enter into the public hearing.
I make a motion to enter.
Motion by Mrs. Hoyes, second by Mr. Usherwood. All in favor? Unanimous. We don't, Ms. Mayo, we don't have anybody signed up, correct?
Correct.
If there's anybody in the room, Dr. Dugan, Larry, anybody that would like to make some public comments, we're here for you guys. We're happy to serve. Short story, a haiku. Just before you go, let Ms. Mayo get your information. So the way it works is you get 3 minutes. That'll start blinking green when your time starts. When it starts blinking yellow, you got 30 seconds. And then when it starts screaming at you, it's time to wrap it up.
All right, I won't take long. My name is Jeremy Echuk, and I lived here a long time, and I just want to make sure that I understand the process of this assessment. So basically, every year, the property values go up, and the state requires you to reassess the properties to maintain the amount of revenue that you would have gotten under the previous mill rate. So hypothetically, if it's a $100,000 asset, and you're charging 5%, okay, the next year that $100,000 asset's $150,000, you can, in theory, you could roll back the mill rate to make it up so you guys have the exact same revenue.
Correct.
Am I understanding everything correctly? My question or thought would be, and everybody on this board should be very proud of the fact that, you know, we heard it today at the state of the school system, that you've been able to roll back the mill rate the last 3 years in a row. Well, it sounds like you won't be able to say that next year because you have the opportunity to roll it back today, but you're going to keep it where it's at, which, you know, you guys know the numbers. I just want to make sure I understand where that's at, so.
Yeah, the dynamic is, are you done?
Yeah, that's it.
The dynamic is a little different this year because this is the first year that we have a self-imposed 4% cap on our revenue. So that has directly affected the revenue stream, inflation being what it is, all the things being what it is. And besides that, we're receiving the majority of our spending increase. It's not controlled by us. It's coming from the state. So I think this year was 26 million additional dollars that were passed down from the state, which we have no say in. We have to fund locally. Over the last 3 or 4 years, I think that's in excess of $90 million that have been passed down.
So, over the last 3 or 4 years, what's happened is the state of Georgia has increased the cost of health care two different levels. One would be on certified employees and one is classified. The certified has increased faster than classified, and the classified was geared to catch up. Well, this year they decided to take a huge leap and not phase it in, but do a big jump. Well, because of that, the majority of our classified employees are not funded through the state of Georgia. They're funded by us. That would be your bus drivers, your bus monitors, your custodians, school nutrition people, things like that. Because of that big jump, there was about a $26 million hit between TRS increases and healthcare increases that we end up paying about 80% of that this year. Because of that, we didn't get funds. We had to have enough funds come in through our property tax to offset that increase. Now, the total the total increase of the budget was about 5%, of which only about 1.45 was local costs that we increased. We did a millage rate, we did a step increase this year, but we did no COLAs. We had some additional cost and operations that went up because of the cost of inflation that we tried to keep down the last several years. We've done a good job, but it finally caught up with us this year. The previous 2 years, we were able to keep operation costs at about $1 million each. This year went up about almost 3 to 4 million. Just because, again, we've been trying to keep that cost low, figuring other ways to buy things, to do things, but inflation finally caught up with us. So with that being said, the reason we kept the millage rate the same this year, did not decrease it, was to help offset the cost of the inflation that finally caught up with us, and those costs from the state of Georgia that were passed on to us that we had no funding source other than local funding sources to pay for.
And Jeremy, you bring up a good point about sustainability for next year's budget. We're hoping that that state impact is not as great. So the payout that we have to do to the state next year should decrease dramatically, right?
We're done with these pass downs.
With these
Well,
pass downs, we should be done.
Right now, there's no word on the street at all. There's nothing behind the back channel saying there's now TRS is gonna go up a little bit next year, not a lot,
But not as much as it
this
has
year.
the last 3 years.
And right now, there's no talk about a healthcare increase for next year, so I
So
think they
that would
made
help
the big
out.
jump. But the thing that I think a lot of people don't see when we do the presentation is the current budget is $750 million. Of that, 207 million is dictated from the state of Georgia for both TRS costs and healthcare costs, which means over 25% of our budget is just to pay for those two line items alone.
Not to mention that there's this 5 mil share that whatever, every school system in the state of Georgia has to, in essence, not pay, they withhold it from the QBE funds that we get, but whatever your mills are set at, 5 mils worth of money stays behind, and then that's redistributed to school systems throughout the state. Well, based on our population and our affluence, this year, we're giving somewhere in the neighborhood of 102 million?
102 million.
Yeah, $102 million of what would be, that's the equivalent to 5 mils of our tax, our property tax, will be used for systems throughout the rest of the state of Georgia that we have no control over. So that's a lot of money.
And not only that, was piggyback off this, is that those counties in South Georgia that are receiving this 5 mil share, they can reduce their millage rate.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing.
They just
They're
pass it on.
reducing their millage rates down to 10 by they're taking money from other systems in the state.
Just for context, the 26 million or so that was passed down this year, that's equivalent to like 1.2 something mils. So if not for that cost, we probably could have shaved, a significant portion of the millage rate this year.
I think probably, and it's been said already, Jeremy, and anytime you want to sit down, we can go through and look together at the books, but I think probably the thing our district staff is most pleased with, and they shared today at the state of the schools, but of what we have control of this year, we're only raising proposed to them, and they passed a budget of local dollars of only increasing by 1.56%, which is, at half the rate of the CPI currently, in terms of inflation. But we've got to continue to pay for HVAC units, we've got to continue to pay for fuel, not to mention keep our teachers competitive. We didn't give a cost of living increase, we were able to give them their step this year, but we got to stay competitive too. So, very proud of that number.
Understood. So,
Thank you.
want to make sure
Thanks, Jeremy.
All right. Dr. Dugan, any comment you'd like to make? Short story? Okay. That's it. We're out of customers. All
I'll
right.
make a motion that we close public participation.
All right. We have a motion to end public hearing, second by Mr. Usherwood, a motion by Mr. Grimes. All in favor? Unanimous. I'll seek a motion to adjourn the meeting at this time.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Hoy, second by Mr. Grimes. All in favor? Unanimous. All right. So we'll hang tight here for 14 minutes and start another meeting to vote on the millage rate.